And welcome to today's video where I'm going to show you how to use Smartsheet. Now I've logged into this brand new fresh account to illustrate what it looks like for a new user. Got to say that for transparency, I do use Smartsheet with my day-to-day role as a project manager, but for data protection and privacy, GDPR and all those kind of things, I've separated this out here today. So you're looking at a completely brand new account, but I think that'll be helpful for you because you will see exactly what it's like as a new user. So when you sign in, this is the interface you'll see. As I say, you'll see it at the top here. This won't, if you have a license, you won't see this course. That's mentioning my free trial there. But one quick caveat is, as a free trial user, you get access to all of the functionality. So what I'm going to show you here today will be the kind of things that you can do with a full license or a free trial if you want to give it a go. So this is the home interface, and as you'll see, it's a brand new account, so there's nothing kind of available for me to look at this stage. I don't have any requests kind of assigned to me. I haven't sent any requests yet, and no suggestions. So we're getting this all clear message. But as you start working in the tool, then this will start to populate. So the first thing I'd like to kind of mention, so this is the home page, by the way. So if you ever click the home button, this is what you're going to see. The first thing I'd like to kind of mention with Smartsheet is the left-hand panel, and that provides you with various different important tools and links to kind of navigate the tool. The first is notifications. So if you're within a sheet, for instance, you could click this, but it kind of gives you an overview of what's on the home page here. You have a list of all your notifications, so anything that's kind of happening on your account, and you also have requests, and that will list anything that's kind of been assigned to you and against your kind of name. Next up we have Browse. So Browse is essentially your kind of hard drive in Smartsheet. So it's where all your files and all of your kind of documents are stored. I would just like to mention that Sheets is a kind of private folder. So anything that's saved in here by default will only be accessible by yourself, unless of course you share it with other team members, and I will show you how to do that a little bit later. But just remember, Sheets, it's your local hard drive. Nobody can see anything here, so it's a good place to create stuff before you're kind of willing to share it out. Now workspaces, that's the Smartsheet terminology for essentially a folder. So what you can do is you can create various different workspaces, and that just basically enables you to store different documents, reports or dashboards or sheets within that workspace. You can share workspaces to different individuals, and yeah, it's just a good way of kind of collecting documents and keeping them together. What we kind of do within our organization is we have different workspaces for different kinds of projects. Resource views, that's obviously has a lot to do with where your resources are allocated, and that will obviously build up depending on how you enter different resources into the tool. And deleted items, well, that's self-explanatory. That's basically just a backup. Imagine that like your recycle bin. Now recent, that's anything that you've recently opened, so that can be really useful when you're in a sheet. You can kind of go back to a previous file that you might have been in. It's kind of good to kind of get back to somewhere where you may have been recently. Favorites. Now, when you start creating different sheets or items within Smartsheet, then there'll be a star icon on the left when you're kind of in the browse section, and if you star them, then they'll start appearing in the favorites. So just a really useful way to quickly navigate the tool and get in between sheets and different resources. Now the final one is a solution center. Now this for me is one of the main benefits of Smartsheet, and what this solution center does is it provides you with a range of different resources that are available for you to use out of the box. So you can set up a load of different resources from scratch. Let's have a look at the project one just for illustration purposes. So we'll call this test. Okay. Now what this is going to do is it's going to load up an example project plan that we've obviously now called test, and it's one of the benefits of Smartsheet is that it gives you this kind of walkthrough of exactly how to use it. But I'm actually going to close it off and I'm going to show you myself. So by default this will have been saved. So if I go back to browse, it's been saved in my sheets, as you will see. That was just to kind of illustrate the solution center, and there's various different excellent different kind of options available. You just kind of go through the different categories depending on your requirements, and I would suggest checking these out because there's can be some really good kind of sets as well, where it's not just one sheet. It provides you with a whole range of different resources. So it could be, if I just click this, it will kind of show you what's included. But this one, for instance, contains a multi-project portal that will be set up, that will update as you go along and you start entering information into your different sheets. And you can learn more about them before you kind of start using them. But as I say, I'm going to start from scratch. I think that's probably the best way to illustrate, what it would look like to work within Smartsheet and within a sheet itself. And what I'm doing here is I'm going over to browse. I'm going into Sheets, and you have two options here. You can either hit the Actions button, or maybe not. Sorry, the Create button. And you can click Grid, or you can right click here and then click Grid. Now Grid is the kind of default view, it's your spreadsheet view. If you imagine Smartsheet as kind of like a Microsoft Excel with some project management functionality, then that will help you understand what it's like and how it kind of works. You do have the option to import from Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Project, and also Sheets and Trello as well. Just bear in mind you might have to structure your data first before you do so. So I'm just going to open up the grid. I'm going to call this test 2 now because we've already got a test. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to delete this one out because I don't know I'm going to need it. I'm going to star this, so that's now in my favorites. Here, test 2. I'm actually going to delete this one because that's probably just going to confuse me later, having two very similar file names. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, and I'm going to, so these are the options that are available to me. I can open it up in the same tab, I can open it in a new tab, I can share it with other team members, I can rename it. As you can see, all of the different options here, we can save it a template so that when we want to create new resources going forward, we can work from this as a basis. So lots of different options here. I'm going to delete it. Or I could rename it, I suppose. I'll rename it something else. Let's call it not a test. This is just getting a little bit silly now. I will delete it, but I just wanted to show you that you can kind of rename your files as well. So let's delete that off. Right, now I'm going to rename this to test. Let's get started. So we've opened this up. So this is a blank sheet, and as I said, Smartsheet is primarily, as the name suggests, a kind of spreadsheet-based tool. So a lot will kind of derive from this kind of interface, and I'm sure you'll be working with it a lot for your projects going forward. So what I'm going to quickly do is just run through the different functionality within the sheet view, and I'll show you how you can kind of create a simple project plan. So first and foremost, it's essential to know that every sheet has a primary column. It cannot be deleted. So if you right click it, you won't see the option to do it. It'll be kind of blanked out. And a primary column is quite important for kind of data structuring. You don't need to worry about it too much, but you always need to have a primary column. You can't delete a primary column, as I've said, but you can kind of move it around within the sheet itself, and you can hide it if you didn't want it. But just rename it. Just use it as the first kind of column that you need to use. So I'm going to rename it to tasks. I'm going to create a mini project plan here today. I'm going to hit save. You can use the save button, which also can be kind of you can use the shortcut as well. Control and S will enable you to save. There is also the ability to change your personal settings and have it auto save after a period of inactivity or after a set amount of time, or when you close a sheet. I will show you that later. So we've named our first column. So you've obviously got all the different columns here. At the top, you've got all your kind of key general elements of your sheet and the different elements of functionality. So this is the grid view. There's various different views in Smartsheet for your sheets. Grid is, as I say, the Excel kind of version, but you have a Gantt view as well, and you'll notice by the message that's appeared on my screen here, I can't see that because I don't have any dates available, so it can't create the Gantt, if that makes sense. So when I do that in a moment, you'll see the Gantt view. We have a calendar view, which just shows it obviously as a calendar, and when we start to populate dates, then that will start being kind of shown. Things will appear on the calendar. And the same for card. What can't be shown at the moment because we've got no data in there. Let's just quickly name some of these columns so you can kind of see what it looks like to have a sheet. So we'll call this we'll have task, we'll have actually let's before I do that, I'm actually going to show you one more quick thing, and I'm going to change the project settings. Okay, so before I do that, I need date. So we'll have a start date. Let me just do that, sorry. If I do a start date, and we'll do an end date. And I'm going to change. So what I did there is I right clicked on the column and I've gone to edit column properties. So by default, all columns are kind of text based, but there are different column types within Smartsheet that enable you to basically add different data types. So I'd like to make this a date, and I'm going to call this a start date. And what we can do is we can restrict it to dates only by checking the checkbox at the bottom, and that will obviously stop anyone from entering text, and you can kind of keep your data a little bit more clean. So we're going to go OK. We'll do end date here. We're going to make that a date as well, restrict dates only, and click OK. Now if I hit save, now I should be able to go into the project settings, and how I can do that is right click on the primary column, which is now called task, edit project settings, and this is going to pop up into your view. Now you just have to select your start date and your end date, and because I've obviously called them, it's picked that up. We're going to want dependencies, so a duration and predecessor column has automatically been added to the sheet to enable those dependencies. Or I could have set them up by, I could have set themselves up manually myself, but because I haven't, it's not in there. Smartsheet's created it for me. You can see them been added to the end there. So here's OK. We don't have a complete column, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that as column 4, and I'll rename that to percentage complete in a moment. This is really, really good. Working days. So if I click edit, this is a Monday to Friday working schedule, which is probably how your projects will operate, and we've got a length of days as well, but you can change it, and you can even add exceptions for things like holidays here. You can add that as well, so that's really, really good for your kind of resourcing as well. So we're going to do that. We're going to hit OK. I can't forget I need to rename this, don't I? So I've double left clicked there. Let's change that to percentage complete, and I'm just going to go back into the column property. No, sorry. The project settings, and make sure that that's that. Okay, good. So now we can start. So we've got, let me delete these out. So to delete a column, select the column, right click and click delete. We don't need that. We don't need this either. Right click, delete. So we've got our columns in place here. So I'm going to start adding some tasks. So let's say we're going to put some phases in here. Initiation, difficult spelling. We're going to have project planning and project execution. So we've got some different kind of phases of a project there. Now I'm going to bold it. So I've selected all, left click, drag down, bold. Now, one thing to bear in mind in Smartsheet is that you can set up parent and child relationships. And what they basically enable you to do is to map a task to a milestone or a phase of your project. So for instance, I've selected the row here. I've right clicked, insert above. Right click, insert above. So let's say as part of the project initiation, we are having a client meeting. Now by default, there will be no parent-child relationship set up, but to do that, so I'm going to unbold that, but to set up that relationship, you just need to indent. So you select the cell that you want to indent and you click the indent button. So it basically enables expanding and collapsing, and it's really, really useful, not only for managing your project, but also kind of keeping it kind of easy to navigate and quite visually pleasing as well. So we've got client meeting. We're going to have what is another project initiation step. Now I've got to think of my project management terminologies here and all things involved there. Let's go project goals agreed. That's a classic one. So we've got project goals agreed, and to expand that out, so you obviously can't see all of that. So what you can do is you can select wrap, and that will kind of make that visible. Alternatively, you can go to the top, make sure that's kind of showing that kind of arrow thing, left click, and then drag it out, and that will bring out your kind of expand the column if you like. So we've got project goals agreed, and let's put project team established. So we're getting there with our little project plan. We're going to create a few more here, and then a few more under project execution, and I think that will do us. So procurement, couldn't have chose more difficult words to spell here. Right, we're going to indent this. Project planning, what is a good project planning? Let's just say risk analysis. Oh, I don't want to move that up here. Risk analysis completed. And one more business requirements designed. Of course, these will vary depending on your project, but these are just very kind of typical tasks in a project. So I've created all those, I've added them all in, and we've got the parent-child relationship. So that's all good. So we can do that. That looks a little bit better. So we're gonna have a start date. Now we've got the parent-child relationship. One thing to bear in mind is I will not be able to update the parent directly. So if I went to put a date in here, so I've just typed 0 there, and it gives you the reason why. It's because you've got subtasks. So basically that cell here, what I'm trying to enter in, is going to be like a summary value. So it picks up all of the data that's kind of held beneath, which is really, really useful. So if I want to update this, I need to go into the subtask. So let's say that was done. This is done today, then you'll see that's rolled up to the top there. If I push this to the next task to the 10th, then obviously that will remain, the top one will remain as the 7th. It basically picks up the first date it can find in all of the child tasks below. You'll see that the end date pre-populated there, and you also might have noticed that the duration has automatically updated. So let's say that the client meeting started today and it's expected to finish tomorrow. On a Saturday. Oh, I didn't click that. No, sorry, it's because I got this in. I need to put this as this. Why is it pinging off? Why is it pinging off? Right, let's try this again. This should have worked. So today, I tell you what, actually, we'll go about it a different way. If I can also start adding numbers to duration, and it should update the end date. So let's put 2 in here. Did you see that? 3. Let's say it takes 5 days. And this is what I really like about this, because it's the quickest way to probably update your project plan is just using the duration. So if I just put, we want the project goals to be agreed, we're going to start that on the Sunday. That's going to take 6 days, and the end date is automatically going to update. So you're getting the picture here. It's very straightforward to update. So we've got some dates in here now. Let's say this needs to be today and today. Let's go back to today. That's one day. Let's say it's 100% complete. Excellent. Now the other benefit is you'll see that this rolls up, so you can get an idea of what because let's say this is 25 actually, and this is 50. That's just 25. No, that. 10 and 10, and let's say it's 50. Right, that has done that because I need to turn it into percentage, and let's turn all this into percentages. Right, so the reason why this has happened is because the decimal places are wrong. So that should be 5% correct, 10%. Okay, let's say it's 100%. This is 5% and this is 10%. Right, now it's working. So as you'll see, I've started putting some percentages. It doesn't really make sense with the dates, but that rolls up and we've got a percentage complete for the initiation phase. Excellent. I'm going to save it. So you'll see how you kind of start updating the data, how all the different columns kind of work together, and how it kind of, it kind of rolls up and integrates, which is very, very clever. Now, other options, you've obviously got save here. You can print this off. So I've just given you a quick example of a project plan, and I've had a bit of a mare there trying to update it, but you see what I'm trying to do. Other things to bear in mind is you've got some automation, so you can create some workflows. So what this basically would mean is you can set triggers and notifications or update requests to certain individuals when things happen within the sheet. So for instance, if I put here, we've got when rows are added or changed. So if I had a automation set up for when project goals agreed is entered into the sheet, let somebody know, I could set that up by just going create a workflow. So you just name your workflow and basically run through the form, and you just click through all the different options and add them as and where you like. You can alert someone. You can even alert a Slack channel. Lots of different options here. So workflows are really, really good and a way of getting people to engage with your sheets and to engage or provide updates when you need them. So that's the automation. There's a lot of functionality there. You've got alerting, you've got reminding, all sorts of things you can do there. So just bear that in mind. I did just skip ahead of file. So as you'd imagine, you see this in Excel and a lot of other Microsoft applications. You've got your kind of classic options here. You can create a new, import, you can open something, save. We've got it as a favorite. You can remove it from a favorite here. We can share it, etc. So we kind of main functionalities in there. If I put test in here, we've got an undo here, redo. You get the idea there. Filters. So filters are in Smartsheet. You don't have by default. In Excel, you can filter on a column quite easily, but in Smartsheet it doesn't quite work like that. You'll notice there's nothing kind of up here to do that, but you just create filters. It's the same kind of principle, but it's done a little bit different. So I'm going to call it a test, believe it or not, and I'm going to put on task. So we want to only show rows that have, is there a contains project goals. If I hit apply, then you'll see that's the only option that's going to be appeared, because that's the only one that meets the criteria. To undo that, you just go filter off. You can delete this filter. You can copy it or you can edit it. So if I click edit, we could change it to project team. You get the idea. Apply. And we don't want it on anymore. We can leave that for later, or we can delete it. I don't want that anymore, so it's gone. Now we've walked through the indenting. You can change the font. So there's four fonts in Smartsheet by default. Personally, quite like Tahoma, so I've chose that. You can change the size of the font as well. Let's make it huge so you can't miss it. Make it italic. So yeah, you got all the kind of formatting options. Make it red if you wanted. Don't know why you would, but some things can be really useful for that. And you've just got all your other formatting options that you would expect. Now, conditional formatting is brilliant because you can add rules to the system so that when certain things happen, things change. So for instance, if we add a new rule, if the start date is in the past, apply red to the entire row. So I need to change this to, let me save that. Let's change this to yesterday. Then it's not going to let me do it, is it? It never does. Whenever you want to show an example, it never works. Right, let's try start date as today. Oh, it works now, doesn't it? That wasn't today. That's why. That was yesterday. I'll put that in as yesterday. The end date's yesterday. We've got the red. You see how it works there. But you can do a lot of things here. You can apply it to just the task, see, or you can apply it to the start date field or several. It's very, very, very useful, and you can do this in various different ways. And it's just good to kind of format the data if you want to do that. You can add extra conditions. You can clone it, disable it. I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, what's next? Format Painter, you would have seen that before. Highlight changes, really useful if you've got multiple people working on a sheet. So if you hit on, you'll see all of the changes that have happened within whatever date or time frame you specify. So in the last hour, since you've been watching, we've done all this, so it's gone all yellow. But as you can imagine, if you set this to, or if you're working on a sheet throughout the day, this can be really, really useful, particularly if other people are using it. Turn that off. Insert row, that's essentially right click in the row, insert above or insert below. Insert column, you can do that via this button here, or you can right click on a column and insert either left or right. Then here we go, this is important. Right, we've got a couple of important ones. First, I'm going to show you actually his contact list. So let's Bob owner. So now we have myself, obviously, because I'm in the sheet. I've assigned myself, and I can't have added Bob. I don't know what happened to Bob there. Bob, add to list. That's what I didn't do. Okay. Restricted values only. So now when I press OK, the option should be myself and Bob. Now, if you add an email address to Bob, then, or that contact that you just added, then they can be notified of when you start adding things to sheets, or they can be assigned to, they start receiving notifications. You would just need to set that up in the automation or as an update request. Now, to do an update request, you can do that in various ways. You can right click and you can, to do an update request, you need to click this button on the right hand side. So another quick thing to show you is, there's so much to show you, update requests. So what you need to do here is, looks like I can't because I'm on a trial, I remember that now from before, but you just basically need to click create new request, specify the individual, and basically specify the conditions of when you want them to update something. So what you could basically do is say, I want you, Bob, to update this column, this field, this cell, etc. every week for the next 6 weeks, that kind of thing. That's what you do. They'll start receiving emails telling them what they need to do. So that's really, really useful for scheduling. Conversations. So this is great. You can have conversations with anyone who kind of opens the sheet. So you can start leaving comments. I've done this, I've done that. Please, can you do this? Really, really good. And you can do that on the row level. So you can add a comment to the row. So a little kind of, you'll see that would obviously come up as, come up here if I added it to the row. At the moment I'm on row 4, so you'd get that little icon there. You can also add it at the sheet level, so if you want to do something more general to cover the entire sheet, then you do that here. So that's really, really useful. You can add attachments to a sheet. You can proof. This is new. I don't even know what this is. Create proof. Okay, looks like you can add files. Really useful. We've done update request. Publish makes it kind of publicly available to different people. If you publish it, so obviously that whoever has the link can access it, etc. Those kind of things. It depends how you want people to be able to basically access this. By default, everything's locked down. Nobody can see anything or your sheets unless you share it or you publish it. They're the kind of options you have. As I say, this is all kind of closed by default. So. Activity log, really, really useful, shows you all of the different changes that have been made or anything that's happened on the sheet. So you can see everything back to when it was created and who by. Absolutely brilliant. You can even, refine it further if you needed to. Share, this is excellent because this enables other people to contribute. So you do need to do this, but thankfully there are different permissions you can offer people. So if you wanted, let's say Bob, we want Bob to come in here and start working on this project plan. You would put his email address in here. Depending on what you want him to be able to do, you would set his permissions up slightly differently. I want him to be an admin. I want him to be able to change everything. So that includes delete columns, add columns, etc. So I would set him up as an admin. However, if we wanted him to just come in here and make a few changes, maybe update some text, then we'd set him up as an editor. And there's two levels there. One is he can share, so share to other people, or the other is he cannot share. So it depends on your organisation, your sheets, what you want, if you want to lock it down further. And viewer, as you would imagine, it means they can come into the sheet and only see what's here. They can't make any changes or additions or whatsoever. Now you add their email address, put the subject in and a message, and this is going to send it to them as an email, to whatever email that you kind of set up here. And it will basically say, you know, hi, Bob, please start working on the project plan. So yeah, that kind of thing. Obviously enter anything you like. We're going to have him as an admin. Notify him, obviously. If you didn't notify him, he wouldn't receive anything. He wouldn't know that it's even been shared to it unless you sent him the URL. CC, and you will get yourself that email as well. Share it. Excellent. Done. Bob's on the sheet. Now, what else can I show you? I think that pretty much sums up the sheet functionality. The only other thing I haven't really discussed is functions. Functions are essentially formulas in Smartsheet. It's their terminology for it. You can see at the top here, it just says sum, but if you go, let's just call it formula. This new column, set up a new column here to show you the formulas. What you would do is you'd click on the cell you want, and then you would you'd click that drop down, and it will show you all of the different formulas. And if you press the I button, it will discuss the formula, how to use it, how to set it up, and how it works. You've got all the common ones in Smartsheet. You can use VLOOKUP. You can use you know, those kind of things. Those classic. Well, they're called advanced, but you know, you got your like your count ifs and those kind of things. If you're familiar with Excel, you know what all these are and what they mean. You do set them up slightly differently in Smartsheet. Just bear that in mind. It's not the exact same formula. If you put an Excel formula in here, it wouldn't work. So it's best to kind of press the I button, learn about them. There's loads of resources on Smartsheet on how to use these formulas, but they're very, very useful for whatever you need them for. One other bit of thing before I leave the sheet screen, and I won't keep you for too much longer. Time is of the essence. I know that you've been here for quite some time now. I've probably been recording for over half an hour. You can bring in data from other sheets. VLOOKUP's one of them. The other thing you can do is link from another sheet. So that's an option here. I don't have any other sheets set up, so I can't do that at the moment, but you can link stuff in from other sheets, which is really, really useful for kind of bringing all your stuff together, or pointing different stakeholders to different things. So that's the sheet functionality. One suggested for you, test. That's new. Browse. So one other thing I'm going to show you is you can create reports. Now reports, the way to test report, all I keep writing is test today. One other thing to mention is the reports basically enable you to pull data together. So what they can do is you can set it up to search across all different sheets or a workspace and pull all the information together. So say you had 10 project plans and you wanted to summarize them in one report in one place, then you do it via the report functionality. So as you'll see here, this is my only option at the moment. So what this is saying is, you know, where am I looking for the data? And I'm specifying I want you to look in test. Now you basically just run through the different process flow. So now it's asking me, what do you want to bring in? So I've said I want it to bring in from the test sheet, but what do you want me to bring in? Well, I want it to, at the moment it's just set up as sheet name, but let's say I wanted to bring in all of the owners. You start seeing it all kind of list here. So yeah, this is really, really useful. And then you can set your criteria as well. So you include or exclude certain things, but this is just really, really useful. Imagine you had 10 project plans and you want to know all of the owners on the project goals agreed task. You know, you want to know every single one doing that piece of work. Then you could do that using the report instead of having to go into all of the different underlined sheets and collect the names out and things like that, or setting up formulas and tricky stuff like that. So reports are really, really useful, and the functionality is a little bit more limited at the top here. You can do things like highlight changes, but as you see, a lot of the formatting isn't there. But you can sort, you can add you got the conversations functionality, etc. So that's reports. The other thing that is great is you can create dashboards and portals. Now, dashboard is of course, to show like a visual representation of data. Portal, the concept there is you almost create a bridge page which enables stakeholders to come in and click through to different areas. So that would be, if you've got a lot of sheets and you don't know how to direct people, you'd create like a portal that would have all the links in one place. So you could essentially just put the links to all of the key project plans that you want stakeholders to look at. Very basic example, but that's what kind of a portal is. Now, when it comes to a dashboard, it's all kind of created via widgets, so you'd need to add them, and you've got all of these different options. Title. So what I like about a dashboard is that it's a kind of blank canvas and it's all drag and drop. So I've left clicked that, and look what I can do. I can have that here, I can have it there, I can have it massive, I can have it, it's very, very, very intuitive. So let's whack that in the middle, and going over here to the add widgets. Then basically to set up your dashboard, you just go through all of the different options. So you can add images. Let's start at the bottom this time. So you can add images, so you can put your company logo there. You can add rich text, so that's any text that you want to enter manually. Reports, so that report I created, I think I saved it. Yeah, let's whack it in here. Let's just, you can display that on the dashboard. So there you go. Let's shove that there. And then you can have shortcuts, so add shortcut any website, so you can just type in the URL, so if they click the link they go through to it. So let's say this is a training dashboard, you could do a link through to a YouTube training video, for instance. So that's really, really useful. Or you can do a link to another Smartsheet item, so that could be another sheet, etc. We've got charts, so you can create charts, so that obviously gives you a representation of data, and so you can set this up directly in the dashboard. Let's just work that down for now. Very easy to do. You just add your data source, and then you just basically set it up like you would in Excel. And then the last thing is metric. So what this is basically doing is enabling you to pull in some metric from a summary sheet. So we need to add the data. So what you'd need to do here, let's say I want to pull in that, then that's what it's going to do. It's going to pull that in here. So of course, any data that you have in a sheet, you can pull it in as a metric and display that on a dashboard. So far the project duration's a day, we've got these owners, and we've got this meaningful insight here. I don't know how that's meaningful. I don't know how this is going to work. Let's just do that. See what happens. There you go. Look at that. Excellent. Look at that for a dashboard. Wouldn't you be pleased to be shared to that? Save it. You had one widget that needs to be set up. Just save you. Okay. Back to editing. All right, we don't want you then. You're not offering us anything here. There you go. Let's put that. Save that. Lovely. Done. Excellent dashboard. Share it. Let's Bob. We can share it to him because we set him up earlier, didn't we? Share it to him. Come and have a look. What do you think? Excellent. So that really is Smartsheet. Obviously, there's a lot of different things you can do. I'm looking at my notes now. I've missed something. Test. You've got the Gantt view. We haven't shown you the Gantt view. So I've gone back into the sheet and we've got all these options now. The card view's opened up as well. So if I click Gantt, this is good. Right, scroll across to the right, and you see this little arrow. Left click, drag it out. You can see your project in a Gantt view. You don't need to do anything. The only way to update that Gantt is to start, do your dates, and it's all gonna it's just all gonna flow nicely. Look at that, and you can set up critical paths. Look, drag in the right. Bottom right, drag that down to that. So basically what this is saying, where are we? Project team established. That can't happen until the project goals are agreed. Right clicked in the bottom right there, dropped it to the start of the next task. So I've created that relationship between the two. A predecessor, that's essentially what it's called. That's now been added to the sheet just by right clicking and dragging. So yeah, Gantt view, bear that in mind. You can use the Gantt view to alter the grid view as well. They're interactive. That's why it's so useful. You can make, and so for instance, if you look up here, you got your almost calendar. So if I'm right clicking at the edge, I'm making project goals agreed longer and shorter. So if I quickly show you there, look, if you look at this, look here, I'm dragging that out because I'm saying it's going to take longer, and that's reflecting here. So work with what you prefer. I like the grid, but if you find the Gantt a little bit easier, then as long as you've got your start and end dates set up as columns, then you can do that here. Very, very useful. So that's the Gantt. Card is essentially, cards are, it's just another view, another way of working. Project planning. It's not for me, but it's something that, you know, you got Bob here. These are all Bob's tasks. This is everything that happens under project planning. I should, you know, those kind of things. Bob's in charge of, I don't know, getting the drinks. That kind of thing. Drinking the drinks. That kind of thing. You got it if it's useful. So, and it's added it here, Bob. It's added it here because, yeah, because it has. Right, anyway, that's that. So before we finish up today, I would just like to show you one more thing, and I'll let you have your day back. Account. If you click account, so obviously if you've got a user license, you won't need to, this won't be here, but you can click plan and billing info, and that will show you everything about, you know, your account. If you, how many sheets you've got, how many users are in here. So you can see I'm an admin. This is my email. But yeah, if you had, you know, 30 users under your account, you can see them all here. You can also, you know, download your user list. You basically edit people's access here, which is really good. You can stop them from being a system admin. You know, make them inactive, that kind of thing. Really, really useful. You can create groups to put users into groups, so that when you share things, you share them to certain groups. You just need to create one here, and then, yeah, when it comes to sharing, you'd share it to the group, not to the individual. Login history, I can't see that on a trial, but it will show you whenever you logged in. Account settings, this is brilliant. You can just go in here and you can, you know, invite people, change your working hours, those kind of things. And yeah, you can go in here, you can change your personal settings, so you can add a nice picture if you wanted. And then when you, in the owner column, when you saw my name, I'd have my little face there if I entered that there, which is really cool. You can enter into your title, department, key information, and then you've got other settings. So here's the autosave I mentioned earlier. Just save it. Autosave, so after 1 minute, it's going to autosave. If you don't want autosave, so by default, autosave is set up. If you don't want it, uncheck it. But you can have it up to 10 minutes, etc. You can autosave when you leave a sheet, report, or dashboard. Can be really, really useful. Can also be a nightmare. Depends on your preferences. You can change your time zone. You can change your regional preferences. So I have got the United States set up here for all my kind of dates and things like that, which is probably why I was making a right hash of my dates earlier. As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm English, UK that is, when I say English. So that's probably why our dates are slightly the other way around. So if I just done that, here you go, the date format, that would have made things so much easier for me in this tutorial. But anyway, what's done is done. And yeah, that's that. So all in all, that is Smartsheet. If you found this useful, please do hit like and drop a comment down below. You know, if you have any questions about what I've showed you, or want me to talk about any particular functionality on a future video going forward, please do let me know in the comments down below. I'll be happy to do that for you. And do subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this, and have an excellent day.